Hi there, I'm Caroline, certified animal behaviourist and dog trainer, and I am the founder of Barketplace. I'm really excited to be bringing my decade of experience of working with young puppies and their owners alongside Dorwest Herbs here today as the first in this mini-series of expert videos to help you get your relationship just right with your dog. In this video, we're going to be helping guide you through those first few days and weeks alongside your new puppy, settling in your family member as best you can, as well as working through some of those common teething issues that we have when we welcome a new dog into our lives. So let's first of all focus on those first few hours, those first few moments that you're sharing together in your puppy's new home. It can be really tempting to try and rush through everything, all those exciting new experiences that you've been waiting for so long. But it is important in those first few days that we keep everything nice and calm, quiet and low-key for our puppies. The most important thing we can do is to prioritise rest and sleep for them. We're looking to aim for about 18 to 20 hours within a 24-hour period, so that's a lot of sleep. So in advance for your puppy coming home, just make sure you've had their rest area set up, whether that just be a traditional bed or you've got a crate or a pen set up. If you can pop something in that smells of you could sleep on a blanket, for example, for a few days and then put that into their bed area. And if you do bring something home from the breeders that smells of their siblings or their mum, that's also lovely to have popped into that space. Your puppy is also probably really hungry at this point because they may not have been fed before their journey home. So giving them a meal will make them feel not only great because they get something tasty to eat, but it also make them feel comfortable as their tummies won't be empty. We also want to make sure we're giving our puppy plenty of chance to go out into your garden so that they can toilet safely. It starts from day one, and really important that we start getting that house training under control immediately. So you've survived that first day with your puppy, but what about that first night? This is the bit that's sometimes met with trepidation by new puppy owners, as we're worried about how much disturbance our dogs are going to cause our sleep. But do trust me, it's short term, and if you do have a few nights of poor sleep because your puppy's waking you up, it won't last long. But we do want to make sure that we're doing everything right to make sure our dogs feel nice and calm, relaxed, and they get into the routine of sleeping a good 7 or 8 hours in a chunk overnight. So how we can do that is to make sure, first of all, our puppy has companionship, because they've just left an environment where they pretty much had somebody with them at all times, either their siblings, the mother, or the breeder. And so we don't want to then force them to be completely isolated. So you can choose to either have your puppy up in your own bedroom, whether they're in their crate or their bed, or you can choose to have somebody sleep wherever you would like your dog to eventually be sleeping. It is important though in those first at least few days, if not weeks, that we do provide that companionship to our dogs as they're getting settled. Be prepared that your puppy will probably need to go out for a toilet break overnight. You can either choose to set an alarm midway through the evening so that you are kind of preempting that and actually then getting your puppy up, letting them out for a quick toilet break and straight back into their bed or crate, or you can wait for your puppy to wake you up. Two of the most common challenges that puppy owners tend to experience are puppy biting and jumping up. Now, puppy biting is one of the hardest things to ignore, as although those needle-like teeth aren't very strong, they're incredibly sore when they nip you. So for jumping up, what we want to do is think about ways that we can reinforce our dog for being down on the floor instead. So having guests or even yourself, as you enter a room, scatter some really nice little bits of food on the floor can encourage our puppies to keep down on the floor as opposed to jumping up to say hi. Teaching our dog a really nice sit is also another way that we can start to create an alternative behaviour to greet somebody with a sit instead of greeting them by putting their paws up onto them. If your puppy does jump up on you, rather than pushing them off and telling them no and get down, those things can sometimes reinforce these behaviours. We can just slightly turn our body away and just remove that attention factor for our pups. When it comes to biting, we want to first of all make sure that our puppy's getting loads of appropriate things to be chewing. Chewing is a really natural behaviour and it's an incredible thing for our dogs to be doing. It helps create some really nice calm hormones in the body. If your dog does happen to bite you, either by accident in play or because they're getting a little bit overtired and stimulated, then we want to interrupt that behaviour with just a loud ow. We don't want to be screaming high-pitched or getting overexcited in these situations, as that can exacerbate the behaviour. But if we just say ow and turn our back and remove our attention from the puppy, that's much more likely to be effective. But it can take a couple of weeks sometimes to get our puppy into this routine of mouth onto human hands means attention is removed. But do make sure you're being fair to your puppy. And if you're finding that they tend to be really bitey at certain times of the day, it may be that they're overtired or that they need something alternative to do as a really nice behaviour that helps calm them in those situations. When it comes to house training, this is one of those really important ones for us to get right, because we don't really want that hygiene element of our dogs toileting in the home for too long. It's actually also one that people expect lasts a lot longer than it needs to, and it can be cracked in just as little as a few days. The most important thing is that we're really consistent in our handling of the situation. Our puppies unfortunately don't come with a rule book that says toileting in the home is not okay, but toileting in the garden is great. So we need to educate them on that. And how best to do that is to basically make sure that every time you let them out into the garden and they do go to the toilet, that we give them something really nice and rewarding for that. So using some high value little bits of food is normally the best way to do it. As your puppy's just finishing up doing the job that we're intending for them to do out in the garden, that's when you're going to tell them that they're doing a great job and then give them some really nice high value small pieces of food. But it is important that we don't give attention to them going inside the home. And even when we think we're giving attention in a sort of punishment type way, sometimes we can unintentionally reinforce behaviours. So if you start going, oh no, well, as soon as your puppy starts to go to the loo inside, you could be giving lots of attention to a sociable puppy who thinks, okay, this gets me some sort of attention, I'll do it again. For puppies who are a little bit more worried, if you are telling them off when they go inside the home, then you may find that they start to avoid toileting in front of you altogether. And that doesn't help us in the long run when we want our dogs to start to toilet on walks when they're allowed to do so. Ideally, your puppy should be passing stool about as many times as meals they're having a day. But if your puppy is passing way more stool than that, or it's very hard to pick up because it's quite soft, then we want to have a look at what's going on from an underlying health point of view. It may well be that the dog's food isn't quite suiting them, and it might be that the diet isn't quite made up of the right ingredients that are going to suit your dog's tummy. It may also be that the sort of stresses of being a new puppy, changing homes and just getting settled are actually causing a bit of gut disturbance. And in that case, the Dorwest Herbs tree bark powder can be really helpful to help firm up stool and make sure that your dog's tummy is feeling great. If you want to support your puppy's gut health as well as their overall body health on an ongoing basis, then you also might like to try this Keeper's Mix Sensitive, which is great for young puppies. When it comes to socialisation and getting our dogs used to new experiences and greeting new people, new dogs, or starting to ignore things like traffic and livestock, we tend to feel like we've got to rush everything within a very short period of time. And yes, while our puppies are more socially accepting in some of those earlier weeks when they first join our home, they can also get overwhelmed very quickly. So it's really important we balance everything on a daily basis. So making sure you're not trying to fit in 20 new experiences in one day is really important. One sweet and short social experience is going to be much more beneficial for your dog than them being overwhelmed by many more. If you're finding that it's very difficult to socialise your dog at the moment, or perhaps they're not ready to go out into the world from a vaccine point of view at the moment, you can get a little bit creative here. So within your household, you can all play dress up, finding new different outfits to put on, hats, scarves, high-vis items, so your dog's getting used to seeing all of these items that people might wear. You can also sit on your doorstep together and watch the world go by, giving your dog a treat every time a new person or dog walks past the home. These are all nice little simple ways that we can start to get our dog familiar with the outside world without having to force them into it. Helping your dog to feel comfortable and safe and secure when you're not there is one of the most valuable lessons that we can teach them at an early age. And we can build this up in really slow, progressive ways with our puppies. So we can start by doing really simple things like throwing a few treats into one room and walking out and walking back in. So our dog is busy eating up those tasty little bits while we just move around the room, and they don't feel worried and feel like they have to follow us everywhere we go. We can also think about when our puppies are sleeping, that we're able to leave the room to perhaps go do something in the garden, or perhaps go do some study or work in another space of the house, making sure that our puppies don't wake and be distressed when they find that we're not there. We can give them opportunities to make choices around choosing to be in one space on their own or following us. And we can kind of motivate them by giving them something like a tied up chew toy or a bone in one space, and then us moving into another room that's adjacent. And our dog has that choice between staying in one space and eating the food or coming and following us. We at no point force them into having to make one decision or the other. It's important that we don't only rely on food when it comes to teaching our dogs to feel safe and secure when left at home alone, because at some point that food will run out, and then we may get distressed later on when our dog's being left alone. So also building up your dog's ability to just ignore your behaviour when you're walking around the home is also really important. So when your dog is nice and settled, do repetitive behaviours like moving to the door, opening and closing it, and then coming and sitting back down again. And repeat until your dog just switches off to any of your movement. Then start to build up the time between when you leave the room and when you re-enter. All of these things can help to build up our dog's tolerance to being in a space on their own without that human companionship. So congratulations from both myself and the team here at Dorwest Herbs. We're really excited for you and the start of your journey into puppy ownership. If you've got any questions for us at all, please do feel free to reach out. And good luck with everything as you move forward with your puppy.